Let me ask you a question. When you consume content, let's say you're reading a book on business or self-improvement, how are you taking that content and applying it to your life to help you get better? Let's say you're watching a webinar. Maybe in the past you've been at a live event and you're really inspired by the speakers and you're taking pages and pages of notes, be it in your notebook, be it on your computer. Well, what are you doing with that information? And that's what I want to talk to you about today is really understanding the question, what are you doing with that great idea? Are you actually using that information? And more importantly, can you even find that information a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, when you're back in the day-to-day of your life? So that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to give you 3 tips that have really helped me take content and apply content to help make my own performance and my team's performance better on this episode of You're in Charge, Now What? The podcast where we want to help you become the leader you want to be and also the leader your team needs you to be. So it is important as a leader when we are taking all of this content in, be it a discussion with someone who is giving you tips on how to improve your business. Or as I said, you read a book or an online webinar or this, I hear it a lot on the new Clubhouse app where people are interviewing great speakers, great business leaders who are giving great tips and information. And I hear people saying, I'm taking so many notes, and it scares me because I've been in that situation. I had to put a system in place for myself because I would be reading all of these books and then I would look at that book on my shelf later going, I can't remember what that book was about, or what did I read that for, or what did I take from that book? And it bothered me. So I approach my content following these 3 tips and it's worked for me. So I hope it will work for you as well. So number 1, are you consuming the content as a student or as a teacher? Let me explain. It's a mindset shift of how you approach that content. Think of your journey as a student through school, be it if you went through high school or even into college. You knew when you took on a subject, you got your textbook, that throughout that semester or throughout that year, as you progressed and information was shared with you by the teacher, you would be tested on it. And part of the grade was how well you took the test, or more importantly, how well you could apply the knowledge you were taught. So you had your binders and your notebooks and your labels and your highlighters, and you really focused on creating a system of how can I take this information and put it in my notebook in a manner that when I go back to study, I can access the information that I think is important, or I could go back and, again, build up those muscles, so to speak, to execute on this information. So the other mindset shift would be, well, what if you had to be the teacher? What if you had to consume the content and put it in a manner where you had to teach this information? So again, how you highlighted it, sorted through the flow of the information, maybe creating a PowerPoint, creating handouts. It's important to understand those 2 mindsets of how you consume content, or else everything is just going to be casual reading, casual consumption, and then you're hoping some of it sticks. You hope you remember things. And we don't want to run our businesses or our lives on a sense of just hoping things work out. So think about a student. Now that you're an adult, you're in the workplace and you're reading a book on performance, on leadership, on whatever skills you're trying to learn. The next time you do it, get your notebook out, or however you take your notes. It could be online. You could be on your iPad. However you do it, are you putting all of these notes together and really taking your time as you're reading to learn the information, to take everything out as a student, as if you're going to go back and be tested, or maybe as a teacher? If you do that, I think it will slow down your consumption of the content, or it will force you to go back a few times to watch a video again, to really glean all of the information out and keep it organized. I think that's a better use of your time than just reading book after book after book. Now, there are also a few different companies out there, I think it's called Blinkist or Headspace. They provide condensed versions of books. So maybe they've already done that first step for you and taken out some of the highlights for you. But it's still, even if you have the Cliff Notes version of a book, you still have to go back and really still read it and approach it as you would as a student or as a teacher to be able to take this information and put it into your system to go back and learn this so then you can apply it. Now, number 2 would be making sure you have all of your notes in a central location. I personally like notebooks. I still like writing. Now, I am testing out notes on the iPad using, there's a few note-taking apps there. I have the pencil. Still like writing in notebooks. But what I have done now is I've created a system of folders using either Google Docs or Google Sheets or Google Folders on my computer, where I will now take my notes and dump them into folders, organizing them by leadership. So that would be a topic, or maybe these came from books, these came from webinars. Even my notebook now, I will take a picture of the page of my notes so that then I can keep that page in a folder online, but I do label it in a way that I remember what notebook, because I had so many notebooks. And then I would try to remember what was the notebook from what session or what year. And it took me so long to try and find the notes, I gave up. And so I didn't really utilize that information. So create an online system for yourself where you can keep all of your notes organized and summarized for easy accessibility. And then lastly, the third one is have a system in place where you go back and you look at those notes, review those notes, and cut through everything and say, okay, here's the one topic. Here's the one thing that I learned from that book. You may have 5, 6, 7, 10 different things that you took from a book, but what's the one that you're making a decision on to look at, to really investigate, to see if I can apply this? Does this fit into my strategy? How will I utilize this information and test it? You can't change 4, 5, 6 things. It becomes overwhelming. That's not to say all of those 5, 6, 7 things are not useful or will be useful. That's why we want to keep things organized so I can go back and find that other great nugget to apply. But really, we need to go through and find the 1 or 2 things that we're going to look at and or test and apply. Or else, why did we go listen to this speaker? Why did we get excited about taking notes? If you're not going to apply this information, then is that really a good use of your time? Maybe you feel good about the fact that you can say, I read all these books or I watched all of these videos. But my question would be, if you took notes and it had an impact on you, what did you do with that information? How did you apply it in your life or for your team's life to make your performance better? So as we do now at every episode, we get our notebook out, making sure you have pen and paper out if you haven't been taking notes. And if you have been taking notes, let's review our notes to make sure that you walk away with some tactical things that you can apply right now. So number 1 was consuming your content as if you were a student, that you're going to be tested on it. Now, or you're a teacher and you're going to have to teach this. Again, it's a different mindset of how you approach your content. Be able to organize it, apply it so you can speak about it. It's really important. It will force you to slow down. Number 2, make sure that you have all of your notes in one location. If you use notebooks like I do, well, then go through them and take pictures of the most important pages or the most important notes. So that way then they're easy to access, maybe on online folders. If you take your notes on a digital being, typing or writing it in, making sure you're dropping it into your folders, making sure you're labeling it using highlighters, just as you would a student, so that when you look at this information, you understand where it is, what's important. Which leads me to the third point, which is how do we go back and look at this information so that we can apply the information, looking through and picking the one topic, the most important thing that we think we can get the most impact right now by going back and reviewing it and testing it. Not to say that all of the other information there or ideas we won't look at in the future, but by going back and going through our notes, we will make those notes, those inspirational strategies part of our life to make our performance better or our team's performance better. So I hope you found that useful. It's worked for me. I continue to keep going back and refining it and trying to stay, just because I'm sharing this with you doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I'm working at it. I have a system and it has worked for me. So I hope it works for you as well. Again, thank you so much for being here with me. If you've gotten this far, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. This way you're notified when I push out videos every single week. Please put your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you like or you don't like. Always trying to get feedback as well. And please share it with everyone. I think there's a lot of people out there who could use this type of information. So again, if it meant something to you, please share it with someone else. That would mean a lot to me. As always, I thank you for your attention. And as I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge, but now you have a new tool to make you more successful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you at the next episode.